Next up, align your content strategy with your top nav and your footer nav. So this is part of content planning, and it should start with, like we said in the first segment, what pain points your customers have that would drive them to consider your products or services. So the more your top nav on your website, any kind of getting around the website and finding stuff that's in the, typically now the header of a website, and often repeated, or some version of it repeated in the footer. The more that can be built around the categories of your customers' needs, the more the website is going to gain traction in search engines around those topics. And the more all the subject matter on your website is going to support those topics and make it clear to search engines what your website's about.
Right.
And so, a common situation for us when a company comes to us and they're moving their internet marketing to Dodgeball SEO or the parent company GoEps is often their top nav is, I'll give you a pretty typical situation: home, about us, our philosophy, our past successes, contact us, services. There's only one of those buttons that's really related to the pain that the customer has that's driving them to the website.
Right.
So you need to think in terms of flipping that script, decide what the second level of that services category is. And you may say, oh yeah, we've got 4 categories of business. Those are the only 4 things that we do. And everything that we do is in one of these 4 services. Well, guess what your new top nav is? Service 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then an about us page, or a contact, even just contact us page. You can put, listen, whatever your philosophy is, just to be frank, nobody cares.
You can put it at the bottom.
Yeah, you can put it in the footer. You can have some page that's linked. You can have a block on the home page, a little further down the page, whatever, the history of the company. Nobody really cares about the history of the company. That's like way down there in terms of establishing credibility. We often approach websites like there's a chronological story, and we need to know the characters, we need to know the backstory, and then we get the big buildup of here's how we're going to do this for you. But that's thinking in terms of kind of a narrative structure that ends with the climax. Websites need to be built using a journalistic structure. In journalism, in newspaper articles, back in the days when everything was sort of manually created, you'd have inches of copy that an editor could literally cut off from the bottom up. And so you always opened with what was important. And if somebody wanted to keep reading, they would. Right. And so it's really important to put the most important thing first. And in the case of any business, that's the products or the services in their categories if needed. But as close as you can get people to the business end of the stick of what you do, the better. And so in the top nav, that means giving most of that top nav real estate to the things that you do, to the climax of the story, not the build up or the backstory.
Right.
And that's a real mind shift. A lot of folks really struggle with it because they've got a lot of things they want to say. So test it out. Trust your SEO folks and just run with a top nav for a while that puts the customer first. Trust me, it'll do way better. Yep. You'll get plenty of time to tell the history of the company and explain that you're the 3rd generation, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
If it ever comes up.
Nobody cares.
Yeah, nobody cares.
All right, cool.